Yeah, awesome.
Right now, I have to stop saying. I know we're on now. I'm getting it
You're
figured
figuring it out. Coming up on tonight's
81.
DLLS Stars pregame show, the whole gang is here. Even though the game itself probably doesn't matter, let's talk about it on DLLS.
Get ready, boys.
It's been a while since our intrepid writer Sam Nestler has been with us because of some health-related concerns. So we are taking no chances tonight. Lud's brought out the bubble wrap, and Sam is getting wrapped and is basically stuck to his chair tonight in studio. Sam, I don't know if you can move your arms or not, but we are making sure you don't take the big hits. And Ben has a comment. Ben, this is Sam. Sam, this is our boss, Ben.
This is actually how you get a cat scan. You
And
just
that's
put your
a
arms up like
Barbie
this.
rainbow helmet.
Does that have a mohawk on it?
It's a rainbow.
It's a helmet.
But you do
helmet
have a
smells
fin
really
for wind
good.
resistance.
It smells delicious.
All right, so we've got Craig Ludwig, we've got Sam Nestler, we've got our producer John Andersen, I'm Owen Newkirk, and reporting live on the scene at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, it's the Sean Shapiro Bowl. Sean, how are you?
Get that off the screen, Sean. No highlights.
Actually, John, I did look this up during warm-ups and pregame. It's not rights owned by rights holders. Actually, that's
This is good TV.
I have no idea what he just said.
There you go. So he I don't know if you can hear him, John, but I can translate. He said that warm-ups is not owned by the TV rights holder, so he is allowed to show that. All right, Sean, let's get right to it. The big news of the day starts with who's playing and who's not, and it begins with goaltender Jake Ottinger. You and I were having an interesting conversation about it after you talked with Pete DeBoer and what you saw at morning skate today. Play Jake, not play Jake. How do you get him ready for game one of the playoffs?
Yeah, Jake's playing tonight. The key question will be whether he's going to play Wednesday against Nashville, how much he'll play Wednesday against Nashville. Pete said if tonight goes well for Jake, he's feeling sharp, he has a good start, they might just go to Casey Smith on Wednesday. If there's still something that Jake Ottinger wants to work on Wednesday and really Coach Jeff Reese wants to work on Wednesday, they might even go NHL preseason game style, where you could see Jake Ottinger for the first half of the game, first period, then switch to Casey Smith after that. So could be Jake Ottinger's last start of the season, might not be. From Jake's perspective, he really liked the idea of potentially playing Wednesday. He wants to be about 2-day break between Wednesday and Saturday, so it's probably going to be a discussion between the stars of what's the best line for keeping Jake sharp for game one and be healthy.
It also looks like, if the lineup news that we heard from Pete is correct, Sean, that Thomas Harley, Essa Lindell will get another day off, and Mason Marchment still dealing with that illness. I mean, I guess they're going to do it with a couple of games that don't matter in the standings right now, now's probably the time to do that.
Yeah, and this is probably last. They would really like to get Tyler Sagan into a game on Wednesday. In a perfect world, Pete said that there would be a spot where we have all three of those players, Tyler, Thomas Harley, and Essa Lindell in the lineup on Wednesday. So this is kind of the last chance to get the break for those two. So tonight you're going to get another first unit power play run with Mikhail Granlund running the point. You're going to get some more Brendan Smith. You're going to get some more Alex Petrovich. People need to stay. I'm going to say this with the caveat. Please watch the post-game show because Sam's in town and it's going to be fun with Sam there. But this is a preseason game. This game means nothing. After we talked to Pete, Todd McClellan literally yelled over, "Don't listen to him, he's lying." After the game, after they were talking, McClellan and DeBoer were spending about 10 minutes just chatting and chilling. Steve Spott and Jay Verdi, the Red Wings coach, about an hour before the game, were chatting in the hallway. This has the feeling of a preseason game in Game 81. So still watch the post-game show because Sam's here and it's going to be fun. But this game means absolutely nothing. So
Preseason hockey means a lot.
Sean, we have Galaga in the chat saying, are we sure Sean is in Detroit? Because all I hear is EDM. Obviously, feeling the warm-ups. You talked about McClellan and DeBoer being close, and they've won a gold medal at the World Championships together. But I want to ask you something you confirmed earlier today. It was the Miro Heiskanen status. It feels like it's not new news, but because of some competing reports, it had to be done.
Yeah, I asked Jim Mill this morning about the kind of the phrasing that's been used on the Shapiro reports. Are there? Is he expected not to be in the first round? That was one report from a TV broadcaster, and Jim said that was actually never the case. We've never said that he's not expected to play in round one. He will not play in game one of round one, but we're hopeful that he'll be in the series, and that clarification is important. And as things kind of go from here, it's all the timing it's a knee and it's tricky, but him being ruled out for all of game one or not being expected for all of round one was kind of faulty. So there's more hope for. I know there's people in the chat who are going to be pretty happy about that.
Sean, you've worked many games covering up at Little Caesars Arena. Ryan in the chat says it's the upper bowl is wild, and I can only guess how rough the press box is. Can you confirm or deny how rough your press box is at Little Caesars?
Best place in the league to watch a game for the press box. Best place in the league.
So there's not punches being thrown?
No, there's no punches being thrown, but it's a gondola setup that hangs over. And so you can watch the play develop. It's just like Calgary, but it wasn't built in the 1920s. So it's one of the best. It's one of the best places in the league. And it's the only place in the world where Little Caesars pizza actually tastes good. So consider it.
Wow. How about that? I love it. Well, Sean, it's always nice to talk to you. I know you're going to go cover the game. We can't wait to hear from you when you pop on during the post-game show. If we can hear you, I'm sure our viewers can, but apparently your microphone isn't great because they said even yours is tough. So might have to pop in the AirPods if you brought them with you.
There won't be EDM pop. There won't be EDM popping post-game too. So there's a little bit difference there. So all right, have a good one, guys.
Thanks, all right, Sean. See you, bud. All right, guys.
Can I take this off? Or
no?
Oh, no.
It's very hot.
You can't even.
We don't want you to.
You're
get
still
hurt.
stuck to the chair, Sam. First of all, welcome back. Hey, we miss you. Nice to have you back.
Hazing.
You are definitely starting to glisten a little bit. I'm sure.
It's very hot in here.
Luds, I really appreciate your concern for our buddy's well-being.
We get him back. We want to keep him here.
We would.
He's an important part of the team.
If you're watching in the chat right now, if you want to give us a little live update, we had a hard time hearing Sean in our studio, but that happens sometimes, and it's still clear on our YouTube broadcast. So if you were watching, could you hear Sean, or was it really,
our producer's
really weak?
shaking his head like, no, it wasn't.
You couldn't hear me either. I think it was picking up the music, and it wasn't. It was making that like the noise that instead of.
It was good information,
background.
though.
Yeah.
Apparently,
it was.
Yeah, it was. Well, the big
hear
thing
any
is, we all know this, but he talked to Jim Nill this morning and said that Miro will not be ready for game one, which we all knew, but there were some conflicting reports when ESPN's TV broadcast saying they hadn't ruled him out and then expected not to miss, their stance is status quo. He's not going to be ready for the start of the playoffs. They're hoping that he can get in there at some point during the first round. We will see, won't we?
Yeah. And again, you want the opponent to think that he's coming back next game. I mean, like when it's a player like that, that's what you want. You got to be prepared. They're not going to change anything they're doing, though. I mean, it's just they're going to say, well, their best defenseman's coming back. Now we're going to change this. I personally don't think that with these two clubs, they know how they're going to play against each other. They have an idea, and yes, they're going to have to make adjustments. Both teams will, but regardless if it was McKinnon that was out of the lineup, you got to go about your business because it's going to happen during the course of the playoffs. At some point, you're going to be missing some players.
Yep. All right, let's talk about some things here. One is the same lineup is expected. I know it's hard to take it seriously.
I keep trying to move, but it's really loud.
The fact that you can't move your arms is the funniest part.
Yeah,
you can move a little bit.
I can type,
but that's the funniest thing is you moving around with all that is actually entertaining. So, Luds, we're gonna see maybe some juggling of forward lines tonight from Pete DeBoer. Same lineup, other than Jake starting instead of Casey DeSmith. But I wouldn't be surprised if he broke up the Robertson, Hintz, and Rantanen line. He said as much, saying we've given them a good run, and we know we can go back to that, but we want to try some other things. What do you think he has in mind?
Again, maybe what some people will hear of with our little, what's it called that we did? What do you call it? A mini pod?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think that, going into a series, and again, I know we're supposed to talk about tonight's game, but I think there's a bigger picture here just down the road. Going into a series that, one of your top players, Mikko, played with a team for 10-plus years, they don't want that one guy in particular for sure to beat them in this series. So they may take him away. There may be specific things. They may put a certain guy on him. He may see a lot of Makar during this. So you have to be prepared to juggle things. I think this is a good time to start juggling it because if it happens, Dallas has played a long time without Mikko Rantanen, and they put up some goals. So they know that they can go back to certain sets. And so maybe that's what you play. Maybe you want to take Mikko and put him down with Jamie Benn and Wyatt and just move him around a little bit so that if he does have to make that adjustment, because it's taken time for Mikko to get used to the two guys he's playing with right now. So it'd be nice if he can, get in there and get a couple games in with these guys or those guys. He knows that this is probably going to happen. I mean, he has to, everybody that plays for a team and you go back and play him again, and if you're a top player like this, you have to expect it. But like I said earlier, there's been a lot of teams over his career with Colorado that have tried to take him away too, and he's found ways to get him around him. But when you know a player's tendencies, you know where he likes to go, you take those away first. He wants to be on the right-hand side of the net. He wants to be up high at the top of the circle. We're not going to let him get there and make him go someplace else.
You can't see. I'm pointing. I can't move, but I'm pointing at Wyatt Johnston's bobblehead because that is who I believe Rantanen should and will play with, because I think that is an option that we know how he did with a right-handed center. Yeah. I'm not saying he's Nathan MacKinnon, but I think that could be something that could work well and give them options.
And the question would be, is it going to be Jamie on the left side, or would they put somebody else there? Now, again, that would be where you're moving three guys around. Yeah. So, and again, I think Jamie took a couple games off. I think it's going to be good for him. And I think with Jamie Benn playing with Mikko Rantanen and Wyatt, two of your top guys, and you got a guy out there that the other team knows if you take liberties with one or the other, you may have to answer to him. It may be a good way to go.
Which leads me to my next question. We will talk about this again at the end of the regular season in a couple of days, I'm sure. But is it, we've said over and over, and I've maintained, it's a no doubt slam dunk. Tyler Seguin comes back, you put him with the guys that have been working, Marchment and Duchesne. Here's the thing. He won't play tonight. They have to send most likely Petrovic and Bischel down if they want him to play. And it sounds like the target is Wednesday against Nashville if they're going to do it. So is it obvious, or because Granlund been really good with Matt Duchesne, if they try this Rantanen thing out, does Tyler go up and play with Robo and Hinson? He's been good with them before.
My feeling is practices and all this kind of stuff, and he looks good in practice, he can skate and all this. They know that Tyler Seguin is coming back from a major surgery and rehab and everything else. You think they're not going to be hard on him? So, of course they will. That's what you want to do. But I think you have to be prepared. Maybe Tyler needs to play a half a period where he doesn't play 12 minutes in the first period, and get his feet underneath him and get, where he feels good. I mean, we just talked about Landeskog the other day where he goes and he plays for the American League team, and it was a great 2 games for him.
Yep.
But he had said that he was a little sore after those games.
Tired.
Exactly. Well, you should be after 3 years. I mean, it's been 1,000 days since he's played.
And we talk about all the time. You can practice all you want. You can skate all you
want.
Nothing
like it.
Till you play a game with that intensity of playing and the adrenaline and sometimes skating and holding your breath without realizing it, and all of a sudden gasping and going, why am I out of breath? Because you're trying harder than you could ever simulate. And so that's my other thing about how important it could be. Like Tyler Seguin knows how to play hockey. I'm not worried about his long-term game that way, but he might feel pretty tired and sore after that first one because he hasn't played.
Tyler's going to dictate all this, right? Yeah. It's going to be how he plays, how he feels, and everything else. You can always bump his minutes up. You know what I mean? And so, but it could be 2-3 games down the road, and I don't think you want to have Tyler around for the long haul, and so you have to be careful, and I think that's where the communication comes in between the coach, player, and trainers.
I think if I don't remember, what was it, 2021 when he had that last surgery and then came back for like the last 2 games right before the end of the year. They didn't make the playoffs. He scored a goal and he looked great in that first game, and I think that's because of what you guys are saying. He may come in game 1 and be amazing. He may score 2 goals. Then that soreness and that stuff sets in. Maybe game 2 and 3, he's a little bit set back. So it's just, we don't know is the answer, and it'll be really interesting to see with that and with that other guy we're hoping comes back at some point too.
that's the good news. We've got some more depressing stats for you.
Only about a minute or so to go.
Aren't necessarily lineup related, but we'll talk about that next here on the DLLS
15.
Stars pregame show.
Yes, and I get to talk about Sleeper with this noise making going on.
Let's get him on a one-shot, John.
The best fantasy platform out there. Put your ball or puck knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite player will have more or less in their projected stats each week. We will get to some picks in a moment here. I'm feeling pretty good about them tonight. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts, breaking news, major injuries, so you can stay ahead of the game, keep track of league updates in real time, and always stay informed to outsmart your friends at every turn. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, for tonight, I'm going to go with the aforementioned Wyatt Johnston scoring a goal tonight. That's just seems obvious. He's been rolling. I know he's been on a little bit of a slump, if you want to call it that. That's worth 2.79 times. Then I have Captain Jamie Benn finally tallying his 400th career goal, which, judging by the 4.02 times worth on that one, you can see how hard it is for him to come by it. Last but not least, we just talked all about him. I have Mikko Rantanen, who's going to catch fire, I believe, here at the end of the season and into the playoffs. I believe he will have 2.5 shots on goal tonight, which is 2.19 times. Altogether, those could be worth 24.56 times your money, and they will hit. Just watch.
All right.
Are there no
back in
power
the saddle
play?
there.
No power play props on this thing?
There's some power play points, power play
Did you
goals.
happen to notice the Dallas Stars, and then one guy's not playing again tonight? And you know who scored the second most goals on the power play this past season? Detroit. I'm just saying. I don't know, but Essa, the king of penalty killing, is not in the lineup again tonight.
You're saying I should have Lucas Raymond with the power play
I
goal?
don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm just saying there's only one team in the league that scored more power play goals, and that was the Winnipeg Jets.
If you would like to take over the Sleeper reads,
I'm
we
just
can do
saying.
that
I
going
use some of you
forward.
guys in your picks. I'm just.
Essa was
I'm
out
confused.
last game, and
We
their
do all
penalty
this
kill
work
looked
and then you
great.
bitch about it
The
every
answer
show.
is he wants to complain
You
about
are
him, but he
feeling
doesn't
okay,
want
right?
to do them because
Exactly.
that would be
The
more work.
drugs just kicked in.
All right, let's talk about something less positive, which is the Stars' current winless streak. They are on a 5-game skid, 0-3-2. The last time they had one of 5 or longer was February 11th through the 22nd of 2023, where they also went 0-3-2. Well, check it out. The most recent 5-game or longer losing skids. Now, these are winless. That means not getting a win. It can be overtime or shootout losses in there. As you can see, it's the second time it's happened under Pete DeBoer, and 3 times before that was during the Rick Bowness era, especially during that shortened season, the 2021 shortened season, and then that one stretch during the 2022. I actually did a massive research project today. I spent way too much time looking through all of this, and there are some very interesting streaks. It happened under Jim Montgomery. If you guys remember that epic late season collapse under Ken Hitchcock the second time around in 2018, the 17-18 season, they went 0-6-2 in March, an 8-game winless streak, which was a really awful time to do that. They had 4 5 or more winless streaks under Lindy Ruff, 3 Glenn Gulletson, and 2 under Mark Crawford. So that's the last 15 years. The point is that it doesn't happen very often because Dallas has the 7th best point total in the last 15 years in the NHL. They've been a very good team for the most part over that span. But if they lose tonight, they'll make it 6 winless in a row. And the big one here, guys, is Pete DeBoer has never, in his 3 years with Dallas, lost 3 straight games in the regular season in regulation. Well, they've lost the last 2, so if they do that tonight, they will. Now, all that is being said because, Luds, we've been getting these comments in the chat of fire Pete DeBoer, or will he be fired if they lose in the first round to Colorado? And we talked about it in the postgame show the other night. The answer is no, because he has another year on his deal, and Jim Nill, doesn't fire coaches, or he hasn't, as the Dallas Stars GM, until their contracts are up or the Jim Montgomery thing. So, Luds, I looked it up. Ready for this? 244 games in the regular season with Pete DeBoer as the head coach of the Dallas Stars. They are first in points, point percentage, fourth in wins, fourth in goals for, fourth in goals against, fifth in power play, second in penalty kill, and first in face-off win percentage. Under Pete DeBoer, they've been an excellent regular season team, but that's not always how fans and management evaluates their head coaches.
Yeah, I was going to say, none of that matters to me. None. And if he doesn't win in the first round just because he has another year on his deal, doesn't mean anything either. Again, I think that, and I'm not calling for Pete to be fired at all, because I think he's a good coach. I want to see what happens during the playoffs.
Same,
I want to see the adjustments that were made and all that. And so he's done I think the players love playing for him. I heard that from Kelly, former video guy, from day one. I heard that they love playing for him. I don't think any of that has changed. That's half the battle. That players, listen to your head coach and are doing everything. But again, at the end of the day, this is about winning. And I don't think the only area I think Pete doesn't have a good record is once he gets into the finals. But again, let's get to the finals. And
he hasn't won.
Yeah,
let's worry about that.
Wasn't this like the only team that he didn't take to the final in his first year? I know he did it with Florida and New Jersey. I feel like it was all in Vegas too. So
his first year with the team, he had taken him to the Stanley Cup final, but lost.
Yeah,
but gotten him to the fourth round.
I think that's funny. Like you talk about playoff success. Is taking the team to the Western Conference final 2 years in a row not playoff success? I know eventually you have to get over the hump, but if you look at 3 years, he takes the team to almost beating a team that was far better than them. I know Jake Ottinger was the reason, and then within 2 wins of the Stanley Cup final twice. At some point, you got to get over the hump. But is it just today's NHL? You get 3 years, and then you're evaluated from there.
Well, exactly. And I think that it's going to, if you get to the finals this year, it's even a bigger hill to climb, just because the teams that you're going to have to go through in the West. We presume it could be Winnipeg should win their round. Dallas would have. So you'd have to beat Colorado. You're going to have to beat Winnipeg. You're probably going to have to beat Vancouver. Some people may think it's going to be Edmonton. I don't. But
not Vancouver.
Vegas.
Did I say that? I meant Vegas.
Vegas.
All I'm saying is that you have to go through 3 monsters of whoever it's going to be. So it's going to be a little, and will your tank be a little bit emptier, or will you feel differently? And the whole record thing and about not having won in the last thing, yes, I hate limping into it. Colorado's 5-4-1 in their last 10 games, so they're not on a roll going into the playoffs now. They got a bunch of days off. They have like 5 days off. They're sitting all their guys out too. So both teams are doing that. Both teams are approaching this like, let's just get this part of the season over with and bring on what matters.
And I think that for me, I wrote about it last week at one of the practices. The Pete DeBoer and the way he coaches and the way the team has gone underneath him is they shrug things off really easily. I think you talked about it during that show as well, which can be a good thing. But at some point, the reason fans I think get so frustrated is you see the team lose these horrible collapses, and then Pete kind of laughs it off. I mean, Pete came into the
but explain to him, we don't know what's said with the room.
Correct, and that's what I'm saying. I think the thing with me, with Pete came into the room that day after the Canucks loss and said, "You're talking to an NHL history coach here." He made a joke about it, and that's all good as long as you back it up. And we don't know what's said behind the scenes. He could be ripping into that team left and right. But for me, if this team then goes on a run, I put all my faith into Pete DeBoer. If they don't, that's why fans start to ask the questions of like, does he need to be harder on the team? Does he? All those questions start to come up. I'm really interested to see which way that goes.
Did it mean anything the other night? Because I think it surprises some people. When was it? Blackwell and Steele came out and did the thing at the end of the game.
Smith.
Was it? Who was Smith? Did that mean anything? Or you don't get one of your, bigger.
Oh, you're talking about post-game media.
Post-game stuff. Does that mean anything? Or
no, because media picks that.
Oh, media does. Yeah. Okay, I didn't.
So I think that was one where they lost. Yeah. So you usually pick two
Isn't
people.
that odd that they would pick?
Yeah, I would.
Maybe
especially
they were
after
kind of
another loss.
Coached not to pick certain players.
I can't speak to that.
That doesn't seem like your go-to guys you want to talk about.
Well, it depends on what media you're talking about, right? Because if it's if you're NHL correspondent or Heike writes for the team, they're not necessarily looking to not talk about things that are negative, but they aren't necessarily going out of their way for it.
Yep.
So they might be looking for who scored. Well, Brendan Smith for the first time this year. Let's talk to him, right? That kind of. I know that Tim Kalishaw was there as the Dallas Morning News coverage. He's certainly not afraid to go to the negative slant if he has to. But Sam wasn't there. Robert wasn't there. He was up with Sean So there were a couple guys that maybe would have asked for something else that wasn't part of that. So we'll give you a bit of a pass on that. Luds, you mentioned Esselindell earlier. I had that written down as something I wanted us to talk about. The Stars dropped to 3rd in the NHL in penalty kill percentage, still a very respectable 82.4% for the season, but they allowed 4 power play goals against when they played Utah on Saturday. How much of that is missing Esselindell?
Everything. If you just looked to see who was playing out there, maybe it tells me more about the guys that were out there, about how they went about killing penalties. And again, it's hard to put a lot on Smith because he had, that was his first game in 20-some or something like that.
It's been a while.
But when I looked at Labushkin, CC, even Leon Bischel, there are guys that were running all over and not really knowing exactly where they should be, is the way it looked to me. And when I looked at the 2 guys in front of the net, it was like, am I taking the high guy or am I taking the guy at the front of the net? Well, nobody took the guy at the front of the net. Let's just get that clear. But there was indecision there. And so I just think when Essa is out there, again, I say this all the time, he's the conscience of the PK. He's the conscience of a lot of the 5-on-5 way you play in your own end. And when Essa's not there, Big Daddy's not guarding the gate. And I think there was nobody taking care of it. And I just saw guys that were confused and didn't know where to go. So it says, again, I can say it says a lot about Essa, but that's kind of a given. But you could lose a player in the playoffs too, and we can't have what happened. So maybe it's good that those guys are going back in there. Maybe that's why there's no changes, because we're going to get a couple penalties tonight against a team that was 2nd in the league in power play goals scored. We need those guys to figure it out in case this happens again.
Sam, Jamie Benn almost scored his 400th career NHL goal the other night against Utah, and then he didn't. It was overturned. From your perspective watching this, what kind of range of emotions are the fans going through when they thought he finally did it and then didn't?
Yeah, I will say people get on Ben a lot for leadership things or things like that because he's a hard guy to understand. We don't even understand him. We're in the room with him every day. I'm sure coaches don't even understand him. But this team runs through Jamie Benn. And when Jamie Benn does well, fans love to cheer for him. So seeing that goal, even myself, it's a huge milestone, and it's something I think that would be nice to get off of his plate, right? Get it out of the way, celebrate it.
He's going to get it.
He's going to get it.
The question is, this season?
Yeah, the problem is 2 games and then it doesn't count anymore, and it's just something that it's not like it's hanging over his head. I'm sure he could care less. But for the fans, it'd be nice to see. It would have been really nice to see at home. Not saying that I want to wait till next October for it to happen at home, but I know that was crazy. It was such a clear goal interference, I think, though. He just backed right into him. I don't know if he even knew where he was at the moment, but it was clearly a range of emotions. That this fan base loves Jamie Benn, I will say that.
I think that if you're the coaches, you do everything you can to put him in a position to get this goal before the playoffs start. I just think it's important
you think
for
mentally?
him. Yeah, but I'm not saying that's going to wreck his playoff mentality, but I think that for him, I think it would be just the opposite, that he got it out of the way. I don't think this is it's not a landmark for him right now and say, oh man, that's what I've been looking for, 400. But I think to be sitting there again, I guess I could use the distraction. I don't believe it's going to be a distraction for him in the playoffs, because he can go through and score 12 goals in the playoffs, and he could care less if he gets goal 500. But I'm just saying, I think it would be nice to just get it over with, and I think I'd put him out there. If there's an empty net, power plays, face-offs in the offensive
he's getting it tonight.
Yeah, I think it was a good pick, because I think I would pick him. If he doesn't get it tonight, I'd pick him again in the last game. I just think they're going to try to find a way for Jamie to get it done.
The reason why I think it's so important is that he is on a now 15-game goal drought, and I'd love for the captain to not have that on his shoulders going into playoffs, right? Sometimes you just need one to go off your pants and in, off your knee, hit it off your shoulder, whatever it is. And then that can sort of break the dam open. And wouldn't it be nice if Jamie Benn was going into the playoffs not having gone on a 17-game goal drought?
I don't think that this is going to affect Jamie Benn in the playoffs, because Jamie knows how you have to play in the playoffs. So Jamie will get goals in the playoffs by playing, because we've talked about Jamie over the last 20 games, right? And I think he missed a couple games, and you could see there was a little more bounce in it when he came back. So I think just being able to get into the playoffs, there's automatically more underneath your wings, so to speak, for everybody. Yeah. So I think you're going to see Jamie come out, and I think he learned a lesson against the Stone that one time, and so I don't think he's going to cross the line.
Let's hope not.
But but I think that he's going to be that physical presence, and when he does that, those goals come for him a little bit easier in front of the net because, they're like, well, let's not get him going tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important too, lads. Is this team doesn't need Jamie Benn. I know it's hard to be serious.
It's hard to be serious watching the bowl or hearing it crinkle.
Don't you dare.
This team doesn't need Jamie Benn to score a lot of goals because they're deep, but they do need him to score some.
Yep.
And that's the line that I think they need to find with him. He needs to be producing once in a while, and the team drives when he does add goals.
Sam, one more thing for both of you. Dallas has won 8 straight games in the regular season against Detroit. It's been a long time since they played each other in a playoff game, and I think Lud's had a part of a few of those. But they are 14-2-0 in their last 16 meetings with the Red Wings. The last time Detroit beat Dallas, April 22nd, 2021, when Jacob Vrana had a 4-goal game. They won 7-3, and Jake Ottinger and Anton Hudobin split the game. Detroit will miss the playoffs for the 9th straight season. It doesn't feel like they're going in the right direction because after looking like Todd McClellan was going to lead them into the playoffs, 6-13-1 in their last 20 games from February 27th to the present. That cost them a playoff spot.
They're good things to have in your favor because they're going to go into Nashville and they're going to crush those guys. So I think they go into the playoffs on a 2-game winning streak.
What do you think, Sam, about Detroit's situation?
Yeah, I think it's tough because last year, if I remember correctly, last year was when they barely missed it, right? Washington just got by them. They scored that crazy comeback goal with the pizza delivery guy stories and all that. That was something to build on, and they did build on it. They looked like a team that was going to run away, come into a wild card, be locked in, and they didn't, and that hurts. To go the opposite direction just takes all the momentum away from the summer, and they have some work to do this offseason.
So let's take a quick look at the lines before we sign off. We are a little over time, but Stars forward lines tonight. We have an update from Robert Tiffin. Robertson, these are the lines from the other night. We didn't know what they were going to do. Robertson, Hintz, Dodonov, Granlund, Duchesne, Bork, Ben, Johnston,
there it is.
Rantanen, well done, Luds, Beck, Steele, Blackwell. And then the D pairings are going to be the same trio of what you see on the screen. Lyubushkin, Dumba, Smith, Ceci, Bischel, and Petrovic with Jake Ottinger starting in goal. What do you think about that forward group, Luds, with the way they lined them up?
Yeah, I right now I just think you're looking for different ways that you can mix guys up, and you're trying to see if you can catch lightning in a bottle, so to speak, and say, oh, here's another threesome that we could put together out there if we're having a problem in a game in game 1, game 2 against Colorado.
Okay, let's take a look at the Red Wings very quickly, their forward group. I believe this is all as we expected. Yep, with DeBrincat, Kasper, and Kane, that second line. Keep an eye on, as Lud said, their power play hasn't been good the last 6 games, but one of the best power plays in the NHL all season long, currently ranked 4th in the league. And then defensively, you'll see that there are a couple of changes to this. They're actually going to have Edvinson play with Sider, which I think is more about the long-term D pairings. Sherratt will play with Petrie, and then Johansson will play with Hall. Peter Mrazek is going to back up tonight. Cam Talbot does get the start, so it won't be Alex Lyon as the backup. Any final thoughts before we go watch this hockey game tonight, Sam?
I would like to get this off of me.
I think that's the way to end. Cut him loose. Make sure he doesn't get anything sharp in his hands. We'll see you for the post-game show here on DLLS.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
We all silly like the mayor.